Welcome to the Music Boost Podcast, your one-stop resource for success in the music industry, with your hosts, John Seymour and Gene Foley. And now, here's John and Gene.
Hey, Gene.
Hey, John.
What's the difference between a folk guitar player and a large pizza?
I'm not sure.
A large pizza can feed a family of 4.
Oh, man, that's rough.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Music Boost. Here for episode 6, quarantine number 3, if you're keeping track. Today, we're going to get into music publishing a little bit. Music publishing is a pretty deep dive, but we'll call this one Music Publishing 101. Our friend Gene will take us through that a little bit. We'll also have a nice chat with Double G. He's a hip-hop artist from Baltimore, and his stuff is great. Also want to announce that we have now launched the Music Boost Podcast YouTube channel, and if you go there, you'll be able to listen to any of the previous episodes. They're all live. We also have a playlist up there called Artist Spotlight, so if anybody is interested in listening, checking out some of the artists that we've featured on the show, that's a great way to do it. You can also always go to themusicboost.com, and on there you'll see an artist spotlight page with pictures and links back to all the artists that have been on the show. So if you're interested in hearing a little bit more, that's the way to do that. Also encourage you guys, if you have any questions for subjects that you'd like us to cover on future episodes of the show, things that you're just curious about, that you're having trouble finding answers to, you can always reach us through the contact page on our website. Also, if you click on either of our caricatures, you can reach us directly. And on the main page, just by clicking the Music Boost logo, you can reach us. So lots of ways to get in touch. We also encourage you to follow us on Instagram at The Music Boost. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the podcast. And if you like what we're doing, please leave us a nice review. It really is helpful to us. We'd like to continue to bring you guys great episodes and get better and better guests on the show so we can help you guys out even more. So thanks again. Here's episode 6. Mr. Foley, how are you today?
Hey, John. Good to be here. Thank you.
Well, as always, it's great to have you here, Gene. Big topic today. We're just going to probably scratch the surface a little bit, but let's just kind of, in its simplest form here, start right at the beginning. And what exactly is music publishing, and what does it mean to our artists?
Yes, this is a great question. I'm glad we're going to cover this because it's certainly one of the topics that comes up very often when I speak to artists as well. I mean, there's whole 400-page books that cover just this subject. That's how of an important subject it is, and how wide-ranging this is. And so let's just at least go over the key terms and the ways that songwriters will make money through their music publishing. There's the 3 key areas are mechanical royalties. So that's album sales and digital downloads, such as iTunes and things. Performance royalties, the most common one is radio airplay, when you get money through that. And synchronization royalties, syncs, a lot of people call it sync for short, licensing movie to TV shows, movies, ads, all those things are your sync royalties. So you have those 3 sources: mechanical, performance, and sync. There's other revenue streams like the internet streaming services, but the 3 I just mentioned, they're the most common and the ones that most up and coming artists are going to see some money from. A good example of a mechanical royalty, like I said, this is when someone buys a copy of your song. So it could be physical, it could be digital, but every time that happens, you should be making some money. Then you have the performance royalties. Again, like I mentioned, it could be radio, TV, even money even you get money if it's in any kind of public setting. So if it's played in a nightclub, a restaurant, a bar, a gym, anywhere that is utilizing your music, you're going to get some performance royalties. And then the very good one is sync royalties, when your music is being synced with music, and audio and video are coming together. So this is when you license your song, again, to TV shows, movies, video games, a major commercial, anything that's visual where your song is synced with it. So those are kind of little definitions. To collect the income, songwriters, you got to get associated with one of the PROs, the performance rights organizations, ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC. are the big ones in this country. They're the three here in America, and then in Canada there's SOCAN. And later in this episode, we'll talk a little bit more about the PROs, but they're very important to affiliate with one of those.
All right. So there's 5 common types of music publishing deals that all songwriters should understand. Can you tell us a little bit about those, Gene? And I guess we'll start with the individual song publishing deal.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the individual song deal, that's a time where a publisher, they hear a song that you wrote, they like it, they may listen to more stuff in your catalog. It maybe doesn't move them as much. So they're not looking to do a real extensive deal. They're looking for a one song deal, or, maybe a couple, two contracts, 2 songs or something. And they keep it simple. Some people, I know that I've gotten offers like this for people, and they're like, oh, if it's not a full blown deal, I don't want it. I look at it this way: if it's a good contract and it's someone who's at least giving you a shot, you're getting your foot in the door. If they're going to work hard to earn money for themselves and for you, as long as the contract is fine, I don't think it's a bad deal. If you can get their foot in the door, you make a great relationship with some big publisher, and over time, hopefully, they like other songs, and it becomes a more extensive deal. But it's at least a ticket to the dance if the terms are fair.
For sure.
Basically, you transfer the copyright to the publisher. Publishing deals are generally 50-50. They go and they work hard to try to find ways to make money with that song. Maybe getting it covered by other artists, maybe getting it into movies and TV shows and ads like we talked about, finding any kind of commercial use to make money with the song. That's really what a good publisher does. And then they get their 50%, you get yours, and everyone should be happy.
Sure, because 50% of 0 is 0, right? It's definitely in their best interest to promote your music.
Right.
So, all right. And then number 2, the exclusive songwriter deal.
Yes, when you get to the exclusive deals, that's when you're going to get some kind of weekly or monthly stipend from the publisher, and it's almost like being on salary, really. And then you have a certain amount of songs that you have to complete and turn in each month. They take the ones that they like, they go out and try to make money with them, and at least then you have a nice steady paycheck for writing songs.
And you also have the pressure of continuously coming up with new music that makes the cut for them, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because in a lot of the contracts, they have the right to turn something down if they don't like it. So if you have, say, a deal where you have to do 2 songs a month, so that's 24 songs a year, you might wind up submitting 35 to get the 24 that they approve. And that it's
keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, exactly. There's no taking a month off for the beach. You got to keep writing, keep submitting. But again, there's a little stability there. At least most people who have these, they don't need a day job as long as they live, within their means.
Sure. And then number 3, we have the co-publishing deal. How does that work?
Exactly. That's those type of deals when the songwriter and the publisher co-own and share the copyright. Because, some songwriters, they just don't want to give up, 100% of their control and their ownership of a song. So if they're lucky enough, they do a co-publishing deal. And usually what the person does is they will form a publishing company. That company will actually own their songs. That company will enter into a deal with a more established publisher. And again, it's the 50-50 split of the income, plus the songwriter gets their share as well. So that's always a good deal too, especially for people who maybe have a little bit of a track record, have a little bit of negotiating power, and they want control.
Okay. And then number 4.
A very common deal these days that I'm seeing a lot of, especially in the last year or two, administration deals, where the publishing company doesn't own the right to your music, not even 50-50, not anything. They just have the right to what we call administer it, which means they go out, they work it, they try to get licensing opportunities. It's a lower percentage, it could be 10%, 15, 20. I've seen a few even as high as 25. But if they're successful, it's not a bad deal to have an administration relationship with someone as well.
Okay. And then we have number 5, the foreign sub-publishing deal. What's the deal with that deal?
Yeah, sometimes, it'll be a U.S.-based writer, and they'll be signed to a smaller or even a medium-sized publisher in this country that doesn't have an office in London or Tokyo or, anywhere that they may need one. So those companies will have deals with people in those territories, and they basically will sub-publish it out to another company. So there might be some, say, for example, your American publisher has a deal with a publisher in Italy. Well, for any money that's being made and opportunities for you in Italy, that small company in Italy handles it. they kick back whatever percentage is owed in the contract to your American, and then the rest that's yours will trickle to you. So it helps you have a little bit of an imprint in foreign countries, even if your publisher itself, doesn't
Bigger
have
reach.
bigger reach, exactly. So those sub-publishing deals can be really good if you want to go global, especially if you're signed to a US based company or Canada, and you do stuff like jazz or metal or blues or different things that are really big in South America or Europe or Asia. It's nice to have someone on the ground over there that really knows that market.
All right. A little earlier, we talked about physical mechanical royalties. Now let's get into the digital download mechanical royalties and how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you or your band or whatever write a song and it's distributed through, say, Amazon Music or iTunes or any of those sort of things, then you're owed a royalty for every time your music's downloaded and paid for by a consumer. The key word here too with that, where a lot of people don't understand, is when you hear the word interactive or non-interactive. When it comes to streaming songs and mechanical royalties in that world. When we say interactive, let's put yourself now, you're the consumer. If the consumer can go onto a website, like say Spotify would be a good example of an interactive site. They could replay a song they like over and over. They can make a playlist. They're actually interacting with the service. When you hear something that they call non-interactive streaming, that would be, say, your AM/FM radio or Pandora or like Sirius XM satellite radio. You could just listen to it. You're not really interacting it. You know what I mean?
You have almost no control over the exact playlist. It's more like, I want to listen to 70s music, and you get what you get.
Right. That's about all that you have, to make an impact. I mean, you're going to get royalties if your song is on any of those outlets, of course, but you're not really interacting it. You tune it on, you put on the station you want, and it is what it is.
All right, Gene. Now, we've talked about the non-interactive streaming royalties. Now let's get into the interactive streaming public performance royalties. How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime a song that you wrote was on one of those services like a Spotify and YouTube, where people could play the same song over and over if they want 10 times in a row. When you're on those sites, the interactive ones, that also counts as a public performance. So that means you're also owed additional royalties since you're the songwriter. So it's another nice revenue stream. And another area too, how many times you go to YouTube and you see there's just millions of, cover songs posted on YouTube. When someone does that, besides the normal license they get to record a cover song, like, you want to do a Beatles song on your CD, you go to Harry Fox or to the publisher, and you prepay and you get a license to put that on your record. Well, if you're also going to do a video of you doing that, that's a separate license that has to be done. A sync license has to be negotiated. And that, like, the government just never really set a rate for that. So if I want to do a Beatles cover of, say, Yesterday, and I go to Harry Fox and I get the license to put it on my CD, I also need to go to the publisher and get a sync license, to do that video, like, of my cover of that song. Now, a lot of people, I would assume, probably don't do that, but you should. The ones who don't want any legal exposure, they should really do it the right way. Get the right license if you're putting a cover on a CD. Get the right license if you're doing a video on YouTube. And since the government doesn't really establish any kind of a fee for that, it's really up to negotiation between, you as the artist and whoever controls those rights for the songwriter. Most likely a publisher. Sometimes a manager gets involved in the middle of the publisher, but that's really the right way to do it if you don't want to look for trouble.
Yeah, that's actually a question that I get asked a lot by artists that I'm working with. They want to do a cover song to release as part of an EP or an album, and they're not quite sure how to go about it. Now, my understanding has always been that as long as you go and you purchase the license from Harry Fox or whatever, they have to grant you the license, correct? You don't need permission in order to release the song.
Yeah, if you want to do a cover song of, like we said, the Beatles or Led Zeppelin or something.
No one can stop you, right?
No, as long as it's been commercially released. As long as it's a song that's been commercially released, you cannot be denied a license. And if someone gives you a hard time, then you go what's called a compulsory mechanical, which basically is forcing them to issue that. And that allows you then to record the song and then sell it on iTunes, sell it on, you got to make sure that you do it the correct way, of course. And that's Harry Fox does a good job with that. They cover, a lot of the songs out there, and you get the license to sell it on CDs. You get the license to sell it on downloads. You just go to their website, fill out all the fields, pay with a credit card, and then you're all set. That's as far as that. Now, if you do a video of you performing this Beatles song or Led Zeppelin song, that's when you got to go to their publisher and
you've got to be granted access at that point, right?
yes, you got to get a sync license, and sometimes they'll grant it, and sometimes they won't, and sometimes a big publisher will ask for some ridiculous amount of money that you can't afford, and then so that's why I suggest to people, if you're gonna do a video of a cover song, try to get the permission first, because
Sure.
if they want $10,000 and you can't do it, better off you find that out now before you record the song or record a video and have to eat it.
Yeah, I have a friend that has he's done a ton of covers, and some of them were incredibly popular. Like, we're talking millions of views, and he was incredibly disappointed to wake up one day and see that all his cover videos were taken down off of YouTube because the publisher wasn't too happy about it. But that's what we're talking about here. That's kind of the price you pay if you don't go ahead and do things the right way.
Yeah, it's definitely, people are out there enforcing that stuff. And I know we mentioned we'd return to talk a little bit more about the Performing Rights Organization. So before we run out of time, we'll go over that a little bit. The ASCAP and BMI and CSAC in America and Canada, SOCAN. Basically, in the nutshell, they are very important to songwriters and artists. They make sure that songwriters and the publishers are paid for the use of their music. So every time someone's using one of your songs in these different capacities, they are going to make sure that you get paid. They collect the royalties, and they make sure you get taken care of. And that could be if it's on radio, if it's a streaming service like Pandora or Spotify, if it's on television, any kind of use like that, they're going to get those money, and they're going to make sure you get your share. And even the public performances, restaurants and clubs and businesses that play music all have to pay licensing fees, and that money's collected and then spread out accordingly to their members. So they do a great job. And then from the legal standpoint, the PROs also do a lot of stuff beyond just collecting and paying royalties. Like they enforce and go after companies accused of music piracy. They're dealing with people in Washington, D.C. when it comes to copyright law and trademark. And when there's new technology, emerging things, they're at the cusp of figuring out how their members will get paid on new technology and new services. So they really do a great job.
And now it's time for another edition of Reverb Nation Artist Spotlight.
How you doing, man? Welcome.
Good, man. How you guys doing today?
Doing great, man. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, man.
So where are you joining us today from? By the looks of the sign behind you, I'm going to say Baltimore.
Yes, sir. Baltimore, Maryland. I'm actually in my house right now.
Right on.
Yes,
right
sir.
On. As we all are.
Yes. Technology.
There you go.
So tell us a little bit about kind of where you've been, how did you get to this point, and, just your little history on you as an artist.
Yeah, man. So I started out, so I was a pitcher back in college, and I had a few offers to go professional, and I ended up turning them down. And around that time, I was around 24 years old. I decided to just buy a microphone. I had one of my cousins that rapped, and he taught me a little bit about mixing and everything. So instead, cutting out a studio, just cutting that whole entire, environment out and doing it in my house, starting out, it was awesome. I was literally putting out a track a week for about a year and a half. And most of them were garbage looking back at it, but it got a lot of YouTube, different channels picked it up, and it was gaining different plays on Spotify, Apple Music. I was seeing results on pretty much every single platform. So that's when I knew I had something. I decided to team up with 2 different engineers around my area, and we've recorded over 150 songs since 2017. I have 3 or 4 different albums ready to come out. Not sure when I'm dropping them, but yeah, man, things been popping off. And then recently, within the last year and a half, I decided to start doing a lot of shows. So I've been to Chicago, New York, DC. I'm going out to Arizona in a few months. I'm actually opening up for Mac Lethal. I'm sure you guys know who he is. Big Kansas City Chiefs fan. I'm excited for him, man. I know you see the Ravens poster in the back, but yeah, I'm opening up for him here in Baltimore at the Metro Gallery, February 29th. So it's going to be really exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
So when you do the live show, what's different about that, for you than just the studio thing? Do you bring Like, do you have a crew and stuff? Like, how does that work for you?
I just have a lot of my close friends that, have been here with me, since really the start. A lot of people, when I first started out doing music, they doubted me because, coming from baseball, I'm real big into baseball, my whole life. And people were like, music, that kind of happened overnight. Where'd that happen? But I mean, it's been a passion of mine. I've been writing music and writing lyrics since I've been in 8th grade. So, it's been kind of like a hidden passion, a hidden talent,
Gotcha.
My whole life. But yeah, man, like it kind of popped up overnight. And, everybody that's been with me from day one with baseball and, from, just me growing up, they were real, supportive, and they're still
behind you.
Yeah, man, my girl, she sings on a lot of my songs, and she'll go and she'll perform with me, and she does like some video work for me. And one of my best friends, he'd never done anything with video before, but he picks up a camera. And yeah, it's just a lot of people that are real close with me and that have stuck with me over the years.
Well, that's important. You have to have a good support system to do this. As we know, it's a passion.
Yeah, man, no doubt.
That was something that very impressed me when I was, reading up on you and getting ready for, the interview. When I saw that you just started out like really going all out at 24 years old. A lot of people you meet when we do these sort of interviews, or even people we meet through our day jobs, it's like, oh, I've been writing songs since I was 7, and I played guitar since I was 9. And for someone to be as good as you are, and you only started that long ago, I said to John, I said, well, this is a guy that you imagine 5 more years how good he's going to be. And we were like, yeah, we got to get him on the show.
I appreciate that, man, for real. So that's one of the things that's like, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a struggle, but one of the things that I'm trying to do is get my music in front of more listeners. I feel like I've gained, a decent fan base around Baltimore, and a lot of people, come to shows and support me, but it's just getting it, places that I've never heard me before. And that's really what I'm focusing on 2020.
So G, should I call you G?
Yeah, man. You can call me Double G. You can call me G. My real name's Greg, whatever you want to call me.
Greg?
Yeah.
Okay. So here at the podcast, we put a real emphasis on songs. It's our feeling that if you don't have a good song, you really don't have anything. You can have great merchandise and a cool logo and all the bells and whistles, but if the substance isn't there at the root, you really don't have anything. So tell us a little bit about how do your songs come together? What's your process look like? How often are you just writing constantly? Like, tell us about your songwriting process a little bit.
Man, I'm writing constantly. Anything that inspires me. I can walk down the street. You're inspiring me right now to write something. Like, honestly,
right on.
Just and I work with a lot of different producers. They're constantly sending me beats, so I feel like that inspires me too. I'll click on a folder and I'll see 3 new beats, and I'll hear it. I'll instantly be inspired from something that I've already been writing. So it kind of just fits really well together. Man, I come up with songs really quickly. It's just I've built a lot of really good relationships with producers overseas. Mainly this one guy, Kill His Beats. He's in Albania. He's produced over 15 songs of me, and we're coming out with an album in 2021 that's literally just us. It's probably gonna be a 10 to 15 track album. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I'm just constantly writing no matter where I am. That's just a big thing for me. And, ever since I decided.
I noticed by looking at your YouTube channel that your productions have gotten better and better.
Definitely.
So it sounds like you're collaborating with some different people and you're kind of fine tuning things. You said that you do a lot of production yourself, recording yourself. You're not really going to studios. How does that work for you?
So I started out doing that. I've actually since, I started out, I bought a little preamp and a program, and I was mixing myself. I was staying up literally all night long, mixing songs pretty much every single night. It got tiring. I was trying to work jobs to support it and everything. But so I decided to team up with a few different engineers that are around the area. And I go to a studio with this one guy named Terry. He'll mix me. He'll track me, so he'll record me, and then we'll send it to a different engineer. He'll mix it, and then we send it to a mastering service down in Atlanta. So by the time my songs come out, 3 different engineers have touched it. So that's why I feel like the quality is definitely getting a lot better.
So you got a team that, this guy's good at this guy's good at that.
Pretty much,
it's the machine is working for you. That's great.
Definitely.
I think that's really important that when you find something that's working, that you
definitely
hammer at home.
You think about how amazing that is, G, for this point in technology, where you're in Baltimore and you're working with people in foreign countries, in Georgia and California and all these places. You're not even leaving your house and you're making music with these incredible people. It's just, as much as people poo-poo the music business, oh, it's struggling. Well, maybe the major label model is, but independent artists are thriving with the technology.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, one of my graphic designers, he's from India, and he's done literally every single one of my artworks except one of them. He's really talented. No, I found him on Instagram.
No?
Yeah,
Okay.
he followed me on Instagram, started liking some of my pictures, and then I DM'd him, and then we've been working ever since. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
You know?
Yeah, I know Gene and I use Fiverr all the time for like, we had a graphics guy in England do our logo, and I've
Yeah,
had
that's awesome.
guys in, Pakistan and whatever. It's crazy the way the internet has connected us all.
You no longer need to blow up in your own city. You can find what you need online. You just need to have the money to market it online. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
So how often do you gig, and do you, like you said, you mentioned you go to different cities? Is that just like, you plan a trip to Chicago, you go there just for one gig, or do you hit other places along the way? Do you do long tours or just kind of short little stints?
Right now, I've just been doing individual shows. I have I guess you could say a tour opportunity later this year that I'm looking into. I'm not 100% sure, if it's going to be a perfect fit or not, but we'll see, if that works, if it's in, I guess, best interest for both parties. But I'd like to do, some type of like tour, but, right now I'm booking individual gigs and then, just making it happen. So.
Right on.
Yeah.
You have a massive following in your home base.
Getting there. Starting out, it was real hard to get people to even click a link, but over the past 4 years, I've gained a lot more fans, a lot more people that genuinely support me. So definitely getting there. I guess the best way to put it is I have a lot more people that follow me now than 4 years ago. So,
what's the biggest problem that you've had to overcome so far?
Being a white rapper from Baltimore.
Makes sense.
I mean, my sound, my stereotypical sound, like what I go for, isn't a Baltimore sound. They have a very unique trap, auto-tune-ish, wavy type, that's not me.
Yeah.
So, I kind of clash going to shows. I'm every time I do a show here in Baltimore, I feel like I have one of the very, the most unique sets, because all my songs sound nothing like any of these other artists that are out. So
it's funny that you say that. Admittedly, hip hop is not Gene and I's, focus in our businesses. I work with mostly rock stuff. Gene, I think you could probably say the same. But when I hear talent, and your stuff stood out so much because I can't tell you how many hip hop artists submitted for this, and every one of them, the beat drops, they're doing shout outs, the auto tuner kicks in.
Right.
And I'm asleep. As soon as I hear that, I'm done. Like, I don't want to listen to a robot.
Right. That's how I feel too, man.
Tell me a story or whatever. I want to hear a human being. And your stuff really jumped out in that way.
For me, I mean, it's okay to use a little bit of pitch correction on, some things. But when you sound so robotic, I've messed in the studio. I've recorded with auto-tune just to see how it sounds. And I hate it. I genuinely hate it. And
I think that thing is so tired and so overdone. I thought when Jay-Z put out the Death of Autotune album or whatever that was, that truly would be the death. But
right.
It seems like it's only proliferated since then.
Yeah, it's taken off.
I have to ask John, do you have that device in your studio, John?
Oh yeah, I have it. But in the rock world, we use it, but it's the complete opposite. You use it in a way that you can't hear it working. That's when it's right for us.
Right.
But in the hip hop world, it's like you have to hear it working.
You don't have to.
No, I know, but that's what they're going for. Is like,
course.
That puts you into that formula that has worked for a lot of artists. But I think you constantly have to be trying to break new ground, not cover other people's stuff.
Absolutely.
So, what are some of your influences? And if you could collaborate with anyone musically, who would it be?
Like mainstream or just in general?
Just, who helped you create your sound? Like, what do you base that on, you think?
Man, I had a real big influence. Not a lot of people heard of him, and I tell a lot of people this, and then, they go look him up, and they're like, okay, makes sense. He's a dude named Underrated. He's from California. He used to be in a group called Potluck. They're a cannabis, like a stoner group.
Okay.
Dude, he has a quick flow, super quick flow, and I feel like that's kind of, I guess that influenced me a lot. Yeah. Like, and then, of course, Eminem and Fly. I feel like any white artist that tells you otherwise, is lying to you. So, a lot of MGK's older, raw, just spit it, rip it type shit. Like, I really like that. His newer stuff, I'm not really keen on, but like NF as of late. I don't know if you guys know NF. Nate,
I'm not familiar.
You should look him up, man. Yeah. Really good artist. Yeah. Just a lot of, like newer, I guess, more lyrical artists. I really like, 50 Cent, Biggie, Nas, Game, artists when I was growing up that I used to listen to. I still listen to them now. I can't stand nowadays rap, but that's why I try to be different with my stuff and, incorporate different genres, different sounds into it.
Yeah, I did a lot of hip hop back in the day. I used to work at Electric Lady in New York City.
Nice.
So between like 95 and 2000, I worked with The Roots, D'Angelo, Q-Tip, Common, Nas, Busta.
That's what's
Mobb
up.
Deep you did?
Oh,
Remember
yeah, Mobb Deep. Well, Mobb Deep was actually a collaboration with Sick of It All, oddly enough.
Oh,
that
that's
was
from Epic. They were on Epic Records. I knew the A&R guy.
Yep, it was like a punk rock meets rap
they're great.
thing.
Those dudes rocked, yeah.
But I always found it interesting when I would work on these hip hop sessions. It was like the opposite of the rock bands. The rock bands would write all their material in advance, work it to death, and then get in the studio and record it. What I found with the hip hop artists is they would hire like a producer who would do the beats or whatever. They would come in, I would lay down all that, print all that stuff to tape. And then the artist would come in and I'd basically loop the song for like 3 hours and they would write their raps on the spot. I found that fascinating, and I'm thinking, man, does the label know about this? That they're just paying for studio time while this guy's actually writing the song here?
Hey, whatever works, man,
Yeah, I don't think it's that way anymore. I don't, I think the budgets have dried up a lot, and they're not wasting money in that way anymore. But that probably is not how you operate, right?
No, man.
You're probably these things are in your head and in your notebook, and then you find a beat that works for it.
Absolutely, yeah. So a lot of the times, actually, I'll find the beat, I'll be inspired by the beat, and I'll write to that individual beat. I mean, there have been times where I've written, things to other instrumentals, and then it just so happened to fit in a different song perfectly. So I use that, but yeah, that happens a lot. A lot of my stuff is, written in advance, and I'm really prepared when I go into the studio. I definitely know, by heart. I don't look at my phone. I don't look at, any type of paper. I know my lyrics by heart every single time I go.
Yeah, you mean business when you get
man,
in there.
I'm super prepared. So that means a lot to me,
Right on. So what goals do you have for your career in music, and where do you see yourself in, let's say, 2 years from now?
2 years. I hope to be at least, touring the United States, making a name for myself. I've been with my girlfriend for almost 6 years, and, she wants to go with me and do this with me. So, that's a lot of motivation. She's, in a medical field, so where she can pick up a job anywhere we go. And I feel like we're a perfect match, and we're just driven together, and we're going to make it happen. And, touring and my short-term goal is I at least want to have one song hit 1 million plays on Spotify by the end of this year. So
there you go.
That's a short-term goal of mine, but the long term is, just make enough money.
How close are you right now to that goal?
My most played song is 150,000, so about 850K off, but we'll make it happen.
Right, well, we got to boost it.
Yeah, we got to boost it. I have
you got to boost.
Yeah, man. I have a few songs that are going to be dropping probably within the next 3 months that may have a shot to do it this year too. So
there you go.
Yeah.
All right. So listen, it's been great having you here. I have one more question for you as we wrap this up.
Yep.
And it's, if you could offer one piece of advice to other emerging artists like yourself, what would that be?
Invest in yourself. Don't do anything stupid. Invest in yourself. And what I mean by that is don't do anything stupid. And I learned that the hard time. I learned that the hard way. And just, if you're dedicated to something, you want to make this happen, you can, but you need to stay repetitive every single day, sleep, eat, and breathe music. You'll make it happen. That's what I do.
Thanks for tuning in to the Music Boost Podcast. Please visit us at themusicboost.com for additional resources, show notes, contact info, and other features. Until next time, just remember, it's all bullshit unless you have a song.